Baptist Church, and he will start off with his remarks.
Good evening, everyone. It is so good to see you here. Thank you, James. Thank you, Dr. Martorano. And thank you to all of our community health partners and to our planning team. We thank each and every one of you for the role that you played in bringing us to this very important and impactful night that we have planned for all of you as well as parents and young people. Now, we know that mental health issues can impact anyone at any age. But for young people, these challenges can be especially difficult to navigate. Unfortunately, there are still a lot of stigmas around mental health issues, and many families feel isolated and alone when dealing with these issues. That's why I want to talk to you today about the role of the church in supporting families that have one or more members facing mental health issues. When it's dealing with challenges themselves or watching a parent or sibling struggle, young people in particular may need a place where they can turn for help and support. By providing a welcoming, non-judgmental, safe environment, churches can become a place where young people and families can share their experiences and access the resources that they need to heal and grow. And to help us to remember the key ways in which churches can support families, we can use the acronym CHURCH. Because the first letter in the acronym is C, and C stands for connection. When we face mental health challenges, it can be easy to feel isolated and alone. However, it's important to remember that connection is crucial to our well-being. And so churches can provide a space for youth and families to find connection with others who may be going through similar experiences, creating a sense of community and support. And one way that churches can facilitate these connections is by organizing support groups for families dealing with mental health challenges. These groups can provide a safe and supportive space where families can share their experiences, learn from others, and find emotional support. Support groups can also help families develop coping strategies and learn new skills from managing mental health challenges. Another way that churches can promote connection is by organizing volunteer opportunities. When youth are able to give back to their community, volunteers, and help others, it can give them a sense of purpose and meaning in their lives. Volunteering can also provide opportunities for young people and families to connect with others who share their values and interests. Furthermore, churches can encourage people to find connection within themselves through practices such as mindfulness, prayer, and self-reflection. And by creating an environment that emphasizes connection to others, community, and the self, churches can help youth, parents to feel seen, to feel heard, and to feel supported. And they can feel all of these different things while fostering a sense of belonging and purpose. And so the first letter in our acronym is C, which stands for connection. And then the second letter in our acronym is H, which stands for honesty. Now, it can be incredibly difficult to talk about mental health challenges, especially for young people who may feel like they're supposed to have everything already figured out. But the truth is that none of us have it all figured out. And it's okay to admit that you need help. And so churches can be a place where young people can feel safe to be honest about what they're going through without fear of judgment or shame. And by creating a sense of honesty and creating a culture of honesty and vulnerability, churches can help young people and parents feel seen and heard, and provide the support and validation that they need to keep going. And so the C stands for connection, the H stands for honesty, and then the U stands for understanding. Because when young people and parents are facing personal or family challenges, it can be hard for others to understand what you're going through. But churches can be a place where empathy and understanding are prioritized. And by educating ourselves about mental health and creating a space for people to share their experiences, churches can foster a culture of understanding, compassion, and acceptance. And this can be especially important for people who may feel like they are misunderstood or marginalized in other areas in their lives. Now, moving on to R, the R stands for resources, because it's important for churches to provide concrete resources for young people and their families who are facing mental health challenges in their lives. And this could include things like access to social services and support groups or educational programs. And by partnering with mental health professionals and other community organizations, churches can become a hub of resources and support for young people and their families. And we're very happy to be partnering with the Howard County Public School System and other community health partners today to provide such resources that are going to be available for you in our fair in the fellowship hall. And we look forward to continued events to support our community. Now let's talk about C, which stands for celebration. Now, while it's important to acknowledge the challenges that come with mental health issues, it's also important to celebrate the resilience and strength of young people and their caregivers who are facing these situations. And so churches can be a place where young people are celebrated for who they are, regardless of their struggles. Because by creating opportunities for young people to shine and be recognized, churches can build opportunities for young people to have confidence and self-esteem, which can be crucial for young people who are struggling with various mental health situations. And let's not forget the parents that are working so hard to create the best lives that they can for their children, many times under difficult situations. And so churches can be and should be a place where caregivers also are celebrated for all of their incredible sacrifices that they make in creating the best possible future for the young people in their lives. And then the final letter is H, which stands for healing. Now, ultimately, the goal of the church in supporting families facing mental health challenges is to promote healing. And churches can play a vital role in promoting healing and recovery. And this could involve offering prayer, it could involve offering spiritual guidance, it could involve simply being a supportive presence for families during these difficult times. And by creating a healing environment, churches can help families find strength and hope in the midst of their struggles. And when we join together as a community, we heal and grow together. And so mental health challenges can be a difficult journey, but it's important to note that anyone facing and experiencing mental health challenges today, you are not alone. because churches can play a vital role in supporting youth and families who are facing mental health challenges by providing a safe and welcoming environment where people can connect, be honest, and access resources that can aid in their healing. And remember that mental health challenges do not define who you are. And it's important to seek out support when you need it, because working together, we can build a community of honesty and support, which can make a positive impact on the lives of those who are struggling with mental health challenges. And so, everyone, thank you for coming. Thank you for listening. And remember that the church is here to support you along this journey. God bless you. And we're going to now have Dr. Martorano come, and he's going to share some reflections.
Good evening, everyone. Let's give Reverend Turner a big round of applause, if we could. I want to start by thanking you, your congregation, and all the leaders for providing an opportunity and a forum for us to come together. Now, to the members who are here with us live this evening, I'm just going to jump in. This is an extremely important topic. And I want you to realize that a large portion and percentage of our students are suffering from mental health issues and mental illness. It is real. Actually, it is worse than that. According to the local data from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, most recent Youth Risk Behavior Survey, nearly 48% of female students and 57% of students who identify as lesbian, gay, or bisexual experience persistent feelings of sadness or hopelessness. And that's just in the past year. And as I talk to you about these facts, I want you to really embrace them and understand and let them penetrate your mind, your body, and your soul about how real this is for our young people who are suffering in silence. Further, a high number of Hispanic, Black, female, and LGBT students attempted suicide. Think about that as our youth to being so in despair that they are turning to thoughts of suicide. This is a reality for our students and for us to come to terms with and have an honest conversation and explore deeper today. As I stated already, I am grateful to you for coming out tonight and joining us for this critically important conversation. It is important that we focus our collective attention on this issue because this is just not a school system issue. It is a Howard County issue. There are too many people, and young people particularly, in our community who are suffering in our community. And as I've stated already, and I will continue to use this expression, suffering in silence. There are multiple supports available to them, but we have to do more than simply hope they are accessing and benefiting from those supports. We must actively tend to those needs, and we must remove the stigma of talking about mental health. If there's not anything else that I walk away from tonight in this conversation, is that we need to have the honest conversation about destigmatizing mental health. I know there are many mental health advocates all around our communities and in our schools and in our places of work looking for signs of suffering and acting and supporting those in need. But this is just simply not enough. This is a crisis that I've witnessed every day that affects each and every one of us in some fashion. So we must all join together in our response in order to reverse the trend of the declining mental health and ensure all people, particularly our youth, and make certain that they are thriving. And I come here tonight to be vulnerable with you, to be honest with you, to make change a real possibility. In order for me to do that successfully as a credible leader within our community, I need to really lift up my story. Many of you know me personally, and you know my story, but for the community that I've lived in for 25 years, I want to lift up that experience to really affect change. My wife, who I was married to for 32 years, a beautiful human being, a devout Christian who supported all individuals quietly within communities, suffered severely from mental illness, severely. She battled serious depression and anxiety for many years, but was courageous in her battle. But the best of it, the worst of it got to her. 7 years ago, in May of 2016, she took her own life. And we were the proud parents of 3 beautiful children. My family suffered dearly as a result of that tragic day, where she was in such despair that she saw nowhere else to turn but to take her own life. I watched her suffer, and there was nothing more that I felt that I could do, and I could not seem to do enough. I accessed every support available, but it was not enough. As you can imagine, her untimely death was extremely difficult for myself and for my family. It is part of my journey as a leader. And when I consider the students and the staff within our school system, I don't want any of our families and our children to experience the grief and the pain and the tragedy that my wife experienced and my family endured. I want our families to be able to have someone they can confide in and talk to. I want them to access and be courageous in seeking help. And as I tell you this story tonight, I don't seek your pity. I don't seek your pathos. I bring this to you to acknowledge that mental health sees no barriers. It can affect any one of us at any time. And my personal crusade is extremely important to understand that through my own journey of grief, that I will not let this define me or destroy me. And my family has made a joint commitment with the same tenet, not to define us, to destroy us, but to use our experience with our journey to simply help others and to talk courageously about the realities that exist within our community. So I come here this evening with an open heart and mind under the pureness of helping others. And as we move forward in our journey to help others, the first step to understanding that is accepting that we have a problem and that we have a challenge. And as I mentioned the data earlier that was acquired from the CDC to start this presentation, I would like to spend some additional time examining the bleak realities that the data is telling us. And then I want to transition into the multiple ways that we are tending to the mental health of our students in our schools. And at the level of urgency, I also want to make note that while we often used the term LGBTQIA+, an acronym in our work, the CDC used LGB identifiers when gathering their data. So that is what I will be using throughout this presentation, not to exclude other groups who are at risk, just to focus on the most recent data from the CDC. And so let's go deeper. As you can see, the most recent data that is behind me, it's provided by the CDC, shows alarming numbers of youth who are reporting persistent feelings of sadness and hopelessness. And think of that as our young people who are vibrant, happy individuals expressing feelings of sadness and hopelessness. And again, I worry about all of our students because so many are susceptible to these feelings. But then I see elevated numbers of students who are LGB, multiracial, Hispanic, or Black, and I'm alarmed because they are all above county averages. Large percentages of our students in these demographics groups felt sad or hopelessness almost every day for at least 2 weeks in a row and stopped doing their usual activities. Think about that. Our youth, a time of wonderment and happiness, are experiencing these feelings. We've got to do better. To put this into further context, in a class of 30 students, 12 Black students felt sad or hopeless almost every day for 2 weeks. And 15 of the 30, the females in the class, felt this way. This is significant that we need to pay attention to. Also, these numbers are rising. Just 10 years ago, 29% of females experienced persistent feelings of sadness or hopelessness, and now that number is nearly 48%. The number of males has increased, crossing across all racial groups, has increased by 9%. And then there is this data point. 20% of Howard County high school students who are Black or LGB attempted suicide 1 or more times in the past year, as well as 25% of multiracial students. Please understand what this data is telling us. This is not the number of students who are considered suicide or even made a suicide plan. This doesn't consider those, because those numbers are even more significantly higher. These are the percentages of students who actually self-reported making a suicide attempt. To put that into an even greater context, that would mean that approximately 1 in 5 of our Black or LGB students have attempted suicide 1 or more times in the past year, and 1 in 4 multiracial students reported making a suicide attempt. Just think about that for a moment. The alarming data and what that truly means as we put names and faces to those data points. The data that I'm sharing with you is real, and it mirrors the reality we are seeing in our schools. I see several school system staff members here in this room tonight, and while that data is striking, I know that not one of them is surprised by that, because they are addressing the concerns every day. So, is all hopeless for us? I have to now turn this to a more positive outlook and say absolutely not. The CDC provides us additional measures at a national level where I see signs of hope and opportunities for us to capitalize on. 61% of our high school students felt a sense of school connectedness, the significance of staying connected in school, and we think about what happened during the pandemic forced individuals into a level of isolationism. And the hope is that reestablishment of connectedness in schools. And this is measured by agreeing or strongly agreeing that they felt close to the people in school. The incredible need for human connection, to stay connected. We are one as a social body that needs each other for support. And when we are in isolation, those ways are cut off. While that same groups of students who are of concern in the previous data have a lower sense of connectedness in school, the disparity isn't as nearly as great as it was earlier. Cultivating this sense of connectiveness is fundamental to what we do with both their peers and an adult in school. It is something that we prioritize regularly and amplify that in our school system. It is something that we don't let to chance, and we cultivate it all day long. Even more encouraging is that 86% of high school students reported that their parents or other adults in their family most of the time or always knew where they were going and whom they are with, the level of engagement. That is encouraging, and we need to continue to encourage families to stay extremely connected with their young people. And as young people connect and advance through our school system, there is a tendency to say, let's give them more freedom as they get older in secondary schools. I say no, provide more engagement as young people get older and advance. And as I stated, this is key. It is more than parental involvement. The CDC calls it parental monitoring. But it's about being actively involved in your child's life, not just letting that to passiveness, but aggressively and assertively staying involved with your children's activity, their engagement with social media, who their friends are, signs of weariness and concern, and taking action and stepping up to provide that help. Being actively engaged in conversations about their health and well-being must occur within families, and seeking support within the extended community for assistance. As we are actively involved with our children in our school system and 57,000 beautiful young people in our school system, we must be cognizant of their actions, behaviors, and feelings. We have to tune in and do a behavioral scan every day to check in with our students. If something is not right, we will notice because we are constantly engaging and actively engaging them. It is incumbent upon every parent, guardian, family member, school staff member, and community member to constantly be monitoring our youth and each other for signs that something isn't right, signs of mental health challenges. And when we see it, we must act. When we must act and when we do act, we look for openings to have conversations to inquire and discuss with your children when we notice changes in behavior, attitude, or language. Providing that non-judgmental space for young people is proven harm reduction approach because it allows children to feel what? Safe. And they seek that safety and they want to be taken care of. Finding ways to solve problems and working together is tremendously beneficial because it empowers children as they work to solve their own challenges. We also know that activities such as adequate sleep, exercise, healthy eating, even helping others have benefits for our mental health. And we heard from our pastor tonight about the engagement of church. Now, during my tenure as superintendent, I have made mental health a top priority. In our schools, I want our community to further understand that we have several and many supports in place for our students who are challenged by any degree of mental health concerns. And for those in attendance tonight, I would not be a quality educator if I did not assign homework. And therefore, what I'm talking to you about tonight, I want you to tell 5 more people and exponentially tell 5 more because the word must get out. We have a continuum of supports, including but not limited to social workers who provide mental health services and facilitate connections between home, school, community supports to promote student academic achievement, and breaking down those barriers of how to get assistance and help. That is one of the biggest challenges if I'm confronted with a mental health challenge. Where do I get support And how do we amplify those supports even broader and louder so parents and family members and community members can access them? It's one thing to have them in place, but if we don't have the ability to access them, we've failed. Secondly, I talk so proudly of our school psychologists who provide strategies and recommendations to assist with academic, behavioral, and social-emotional student and classroom interventions. That's happening in our schools, but we continue to need to do more. And I commend our outstanding school counselors who follow a set curriculum that I'm not sure everybody is aware of to help all students with their personal, social, and academic development. Additionally, we commit to teaching students, families, and staff about bullying prevention and providing students with a safe and inclusive learning environment. Most importantly, we urge all staff to know the students who enter our school buildings and classrooms every day. Now, everyone in this community should understand this next statement. It is my mantra and my educational philosophy that dictates how we educate in Howard County. And I have consistently used this throughout my entire career as an educator. And it is clearly defined behind me. Think about it, embrace it, and understand the actionable steps behind it. To teach a child well, we must know a child well. So when I unpack that, if all as we see when our young people walk in is the focus on academics, then we have done a disservice to our children. If a child comes in emotionally upset and we ignore that, we are missing the essential understanding of getting through to this child. If a child comes to our school traumatized by an event that occurred in the family or the community the evening before, and we ignore that, we are doing a disservice to our child because we recognize the traumatic events that our children experience and the adverse childhood experiences, better known as ACE, that has an impact on academic achievement. To be in tune to that, if children aren't fed, can lead to further trauma that has an issue in terms of academic achievement. So all of these work together that we fully must know our children well in order for solid academics to take place. And this certainly, as I've stated, has academic achievement implications. And I am a proponent of differentiated approaches and supports for each type of our learners, and our learners have to be provided with an individual support. But it is also critically important to know each student, as I've said already, personally, and we must constantly monitor their mental health and their well-being. And the same is true for our staff. These last several years have been exponentially challenging for all of you, for our community that we love, Howard County. Our fellow Howard Countyans have suffered severely through the pandemic. And as I've talked about our children, I have to lift up the challenges that our staff have experienced as well. And as adults, we must constantly be tending to one another to establish a culture and climate that is supportive, safe, and healthy. And we lead with love, care, and compassion. Not just words, but explicitly clear in our actions. School system staffs have many resources and programming available to them as well to support their mental health and well-being. And we must be courageous and brave and recognize it is not a weakness to express that we all need to take a knee every now and then and seek assistance from each other. And the community of support allowed us to come through the pandemic and now work more diligently to help our young people and our adults within our school system and in our community to continue to thrive. Now, as I begin to wrap up, there is much work to be done. But to reverse the declining mental health trends that we are witnessing amongst our youth, we must first get real. We must acknowledge that there is a problem, and we must act now to ensure that it doesn't continue to get worse. And although I am not a psychologist or a trained counselor or psychiatrist, what I do know for certain through my own personal experiences is to be open and receptive to early intervention. And both from a medical point of view and from a behavioral cognitive point of view, from assistance from counseling, all of those variables working together at an early intervention help address the concerns individuals are experiencing. And it prevents it from getting worse. Ladies and gentlemen, Reverend Turner, I'm absolutely pleased to join you tonight as we take a deeper dive into a topic that is relevant, germane, and real to this time and this moment. As you can see, this crisis is real, and it is having an impact on our communities, schools, and home. And I'm going to say it again. Our young people are suffering in silence, and we must stop that pain. Our adults are suffering in silence, and we must stop that pain. Thank you to everyone who is here, for those who are watching online. Thank you for your continued partnership to ensure that every one of our young people may thrive and enjoy a healthy and successful life. Thank you for your partnership and working together with me. Much can get accomplished. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Wow, can we give another round of applause to Reverend Turner and Dr. Michael Martirano? I'd like to thank Dr. Martirano for sharing his story, for sharing the data that is so very powerful, and also sharing the resources that are available in Howard County Public Schools. And before I move forward, I want to personally say, as a licensed social worker myself, former principal here in that county, under his leadership, over the past 6 years, there's been tremendous gains made around the idea of mental health. About 6 years ago, we had 5 schools that were under a pilot program that provided licensed clinicians during the school day to 5 schools. Since that time, and starting prior to the pandemic, under his leadership, we now have access to all 77 of our schools, have access to licensed clinicians, whether it's our own school-based social worker or a community mental health program that is assigned to those schools. And so thank you so very much for that. And also, real quick, I want to say, again, being a former principal, I think under his leadership, we don't work in silos like we did before. I think we are so much more collaborative as a school system. And as you see by all the partners here this evening, and again, that's under Dr. Martirano's leadership, and I just want to thank you. I just want to let the community know that. Very important. So at this time, I would like to introduce Ms. Stephanie Reed. She is a licensed clinical social worker. She is a youth and family support services supervisor with the Howard County Health Department. Ms. Reed is going to provide a high-level overview of where you can start to find help for yourself, for loved ones, or for others in our community. So at this time, Ms. Stephanie Reed will come to the podium.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Okay. It's an honor to be with you tonight. This is such an important topic, and I really appreciate everyone's engagement with this. I have a PowerPoint that I'm going to try to run through, but a lot of the topics have already been addressed. My name is Stephanie Reed. I'm a clinical social worker. I work at the Health Department in the Bureau of Behavioral Health. And my first slide kind of shows a little bit about, you can move to the next slide. Thank you. Just because we often talk about mental health, but at the Health Department, we really talk about behavioral health because that encompasses many areas. It encompasses substance use disorders, mental health disorders, and we really look at it as a larger term to encompass all of these things. And my next slide just shows, you can these are some of the things that young people and adults can experience that are all within that, behavioral health. I just like to give that as an example. You can move to the next slide. So at the health department, we try to educate, just like what's already been discussed, but there are different signs of mental health challenges. Sometimes we look at that like with your mood, so you can feel sad, you can also feel anxious. Sometimes people become agitated. You can also have an elevated mood. Sometimes we refer to that as like mania. You can have impacts to your thinking. You can withdraw from friends and activities that you normally enjoy. Might have lower energy, difficulty sleeping. Sometimes you might sleep a lot. Sometimes people might want to escape and result to sleeping. With other mental health disorders, you might even see a break from reality, where a person might experience like delusions, paranoia, hallucinations, and generally just an inability to cope with your daily problems. Often we see where people might use alcohol and drugs. You might have changes with your eating habits, might also have some volatility, being angry or hostile. Thank you. And of course, we always want to focus on prevention, just like what's been discussed already. It's just, we really encourage people to talk about your feelings, try to get good sleep, eating a healthy diet, staying active with exercise, practice mindfulness, prayer, staying connected with other people. It can be such a huge area of strength when you reach out to other people, when you provide service, and just keeping in touch with others. And you can move to the next slide. This is a program that we've been using at the health department called Sources of Strength. And this is a program that's evidence-based for youth mental health promotion and suicide prevention, where it really focuses on peer leadership, as well as adult advisors, where the young people come together to really focus on this full spectrum of all these areas to live a healthy, holistic life. And it really helps to shift the culture in a positive way, so that within your community, there is more acceptance, trying to reduce the stigma, trying to just promote openness, tolerance for others, reducing suicide, violence, bullying, and substance misuse. You can go to the next slide. And with this program, it does show to have a reduction in those things, but increasing well-being, help-seeking, resiliency, healthy coping, and belonging, and just moving away from just a singular focus to really looking at the more risk factors that can help from an upstream approach to just give you that strength, that when you do hit hard times, you have these things to rely on. You have a healthy culture surrounding you. You can move to the next slide. Thank you. So just like what's been talked about tonight, just the importance of reaching out. If you have concerns about someone, we really say to ask directly. Are you thinking about suicide? I usually phrase it, are you thinking about hurting yourself? And just really trying to have those direct conversations so that you really know where a person is and can try to get them the help that they need. Just like what's been said, being a good listener, being non-judgmental, just letting the person talk about what they're going through, and trying to help keep them safe. We have 988, which is our national hotline where you can call. There's English and Spanish, also for military-connected people and veterans. So we always want to keep people safe and help connect them with help. So if a young person is worried about a friend, we want to make sure that that person can help their friend kind of get connected with a safe adult or 988, and making sure that they are going to be safe. And also, I always want to tell people to check in again. If a friend has shared something very personal with you, thoughts of suicide, just really being in a bad place, it's always good to follow back up with that friend, in a private setting, to be respectful, but to check on them again and make sure, that they are getting the help they need. And you can move forward. And like I said, with 988, it actually rolled out, I believe, last July. So we're kind of coming up on a year of it. My understanding, it's being utilized heavily. So that's kind of what we want. You can call or text. And we encourage anybody to use it and to please share it with 5 people you know, so everybody knows about it. And the health department does have a whole program on suicide prevention. Our goal is to have 0 suicides in Howard County. And our campaign is It's Okay to Ask. So, just checking on people and also asking for help. And these are some of our other programs. So tonight, really mainly, I was invited here to speak about behavioral health navigation, so I don't want to miss that topic. At the health department, we have a behavioral health navigator. This is a service that we provide free to anyone and anyone who wants it. You can call in, you can email, you can use our QR code. Our navigator will listen to what's going on with you, see what it is that you're looking for, and then she's very familiar with all the resources in the county. She can help you if you're looking for a therapist or some type of support group, if you're trying to utilize your health insurance, or if you don't have health insurance, she will try to help you find just what you're looking for, whether you want in-person or you want virtual therapy. She can really try to help you with all that. And follow-up is also a very important part. This is something we still are working on because she is so busy, it's hard to always follow up. But we know that follow-up is so important because having the resources is one thing, but really getting connected and getting your needs met is a different thing. So this is how you would contact her. Feel free to screenshot it or however you'd like. I'm happy to share this with whoever wants it. But her name is Kayla Jenkins. And you can always reach out to her to, ask for or look for anything that you're looking for, especially related to behavioral health. But if you need something not related to behavioral health, we'll still try to guide you to the right place. We also have these directories. We have directories for, there's the network of care, but we really maintain the adult behavioral health directory and the youth behavioral health directory. So these are like 80 pages of just resources, and it's just in an index, and these are free for anyone to use. Kayla updates these quarterly, so we try to make sure the information's accurate, but anyone can go on our website, and feel free to take it and use it and pass it around. Those resources are there for everybody, and we try to make it relevant and appropriate for what people need. I wanted to plug, I have been working with a graduate student. This year she's getting a dual degree in public health as well as social work. And she is giving a presentation on her capstone project, the project that she did this year, working together, addressing adolescent substance use in Howard County, and a needs assessment and research review. This is open to anyone, anybody who'd like to attend. We welcome you. We're going to have it as a hybrid, so you can come in person or join virtually. We'd love to have you. And we also have another event coming up, social media guide for parents, because we know summertime is a time a lot of kids really get on screens a lot. There are a lot of concerns. So we have a therapist and presenter, Erin Castleberry. She's going to be giving 3 separate. So we have May 9th, parents of kids and caregivers as well. I don't mean to exclude anyone. It's for really anyone taking care or involved with children ages 3 to 8. May 10th, children ages 9 to 12, and May 11th, parents of children ages 13 to 17. We just broke it down like that because there are some slight differences to be aware of, based on the ages of the children. So we hope you join us for that. And we also have the local children's board is also going to be hosting a presentation, but theirs on social media will be for teens specifically, and things for them to watch out for, especially with TikTok and other things where people might self-diagnose. So I wanted to put a plug in for them too. Thank you for your engagement on this topic. We're going to be in the other room, and I'm happy to talk with anyone or come to our table. We have a lot of resources to share. So thank you for having me. Appreciate it. Have a good night.
Thank you again, Ms. Reed. I would now like to take a minute to thank all of our wonderful speakers this evening. Can we please give them a round of applause, please? In addition to our powerful presenters this evening, we have been joined by some of our dedicated partners here in Howard County. Our volunteers are passing out an activity sheet for you to use as you visit the resource tables. You can note which organizations offer which services based on the squares on your card. The goal is that when you leave here tonight, you will have a list and a contact for each of the amazing partners that are here this evening. As we move into the fellowship hall, you will have an opportunity to visit partners that provide direct health care, mental health care, referral and connection to care, and other supports. And I'm going to actually read a list of our partners that have joined us. It's the Howard County Government Department of Community Services, Howard County Health Department, NAMI of Howard County, Grassroots Crisis Intervention, First Call Urgent Care, Community Action Council of Howard County, Find a Doc, Alpha Foundation of Howard County, Shepherd Pratt, Chase Brexton, Congruent Counseling, HE Drug Free, and On Our Own of Howard County. And if anyone knows me, and what I say all the time, I say the school system has a huge responsibility in regards to our kids and our families, but I always say we cannot do it by ourselves. We have to leverage our community partners. So we thank them all thank you all for being here, but thank them for being here as well and being such great partners. Again, please be sure to provide your feedback using the QR code that you will see throughout the church this evening, which will help us in planning for future events. So please, please, please make sure you fill out that survey. Our resource sessions will be open until 8:30. As one final reminder, please know that rooms have been reserved if you would like to speak with someone privately this evening. This evening is about connecting and taking action for ourselves, for our families, and for our community. And again, thank you for being with us tonight. And at this time, we will transition to the health fair. Thank you.